Cause girls is players too.
Keep 'em playing, baby. What's up?
What's happening? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Hanging out, chilling in the West Coast.
Yeah, here in the Midwest, we praying for consecutive sunshine. We don't know if we coming or going with this snow or rain or whatever you call it.
I hear you. I hear you. So, we decided to start a podcast. I'm
Yeah,
the
why
mom,
not? I'm the daughter.
and we know all things sports. And
Awesome.
what better way to have conversations about some of the latest topics, what's happening in basketball and football, just life in general. Every day we're peppered with all kinds of news. So we decided to launch a podcast that comes from the perspective, because girls is players too, and that you can see that moms and daughter can actually get along and spit knowledge. What you think?
I know that's right. I know that's right. And the best part about it is we were players too. So we got that in our back pockets. We held it down on the court and other facets. So we just bringing y'all what we know.
That's it. That's it. So a little bit about me. Played high school ball in Milwaukee. Went to Marquette University. Played 4 years at Marquette. I was known as our defensive specialist. So we do what we do. I work for a professional sports team. Work in media sales. Ran an AAU program.
Mm.
But I'm that chick that a lot of guys is like, man, I wish my woman knew sports like you do, because I can talk it all day long. What's your
Oh, damn.
story?
Well, I too
Oh, and
played.
I'm a Hall of Famer from high
I
school.
know
So
that's right. I know that's right. I too played basketball in Glendale, Milwaukee. Um I went to University of Wisconsin Parkside, played basketball. I am now retired, fully retired, but we gonna toot our own horns because we are Hall of Famers. We are in the Hall of Fame at our respective high schools. And she's the defensive specialist, the stopper. I was just lighting you up from anywhere on the court.
with that
And
left hand too,
yeah,
huh?
I'm a lefty specialist, but I can also lock you down too. So, um, yeah, yeah, whatever I had to bring on the court, I was bringing that.
I love the juice. I love it. I love it. I love it. So what topic we want to talk about first?
Well, because we are towards the end of the NBA season, but this is like the best part of the season, the playoffs.
It's been cracking.
It's
It
been
has
some
been.
good games.
Yeah. So I guess I first want to talk about our home team, the Milwaukee Bucks, because my man Giannis brought it again this year. They say he probably will finish third in MVP voting, which
That's all
is
right.
fine. But he had a monster season. I think the fans, the market, everybody finally embraced Dame. This was his second year with the team, and him and Giannis certainly put together some amazing moments. We won the
Hmm.
NBA Cup.
Hmm.
Both Dame and Giannis were all stars, and they were the highest scoring duo in the league. I mean, they brought the funk this year. Now, we lost some games that we probably shouldn't have lost, but we certainly earned our stripes and definitely held it down. But I'm just a little frustrated, I guess is probably my word, with why everybody think because we didn't go beyond game 5 in the playoffs that Giannis needs to leave. What's your take?
Yeah, my thing is everybody wants to win a championship. They're professionals, so it's not a thing where, oh yeah, this team is gonna win the championship this year. Or they gonna two-peat or three-peat. Everybody is fighting for their chance to win a ring. And one thing that we can fall back on is that we got one in
4 years
2021.
ago, this
So
decade.
in this decade. So, and Giannis, the thing about Giannis is, from what I've noticed, is he is a loyal person. He's gonna give you blood, sweat, and tears throughout his whole process. So I don't foresee him leaving. We can let everybody say, yeah, Giannis is leaving because he didn't win or the coach this or injuries that, but Giannis is a loyal person to the core. And he's found his home here in Milwaukee. So I would love for him to stay here his whole career. I mean, because he is putting Milwaukee on his back. He's brought us life. He's brought us a chip. So
But where is he going? That's my take. It's like he is the franchise.
right.
So why would you trade your best asset that won you a championship? If
Right.
anything, continue working to try to build around him. And with
Yeah.
Dame going down with that Achilles, it's like, this is not the time to keep souring on the Milwaukee Bucks. But as you said, every year since what, 2018, 2017, there haven't been any repeat winners.
Mm-mm.
So we certainly are in a good spot. I mean, I feel like the players we had this year, I feel like we had enough. But just unfortunate injuries took a toll on the team. I think Doc is great. I love him as our coach.
Mm-hmm. And he a Marquette alone.
He is an MU alum, so that's my man, right? So, but but the media, that's what we do. I guess we gotta spin it and keep, in order to keep Milwaukee relevant, have to have something to say. So,
I want to shine a light on my other team because I'm home team for sure, but I'm also team LeBron, and they also got the boot last
and
night. And
right, and now everybody's like, yeah, Luca was out of shape. Luca was dropping mad dimes all season when he came back to play for the Lakers. However, the Lakers again, they just didn't have enough.
mm-hmm.
And when you get to this part of the season and you play a team 4 or 5 times, it's all about matchups.
That's
It
it.
truly is.
That's
And I
it.
give JJ Redick a lot of credit for trying to find a solid rotation that could sustain that. But the height and the length of them Timberwolves, they
Yeah.
they they gonna give a lot of people some fits this playoffs, I think.
Oh yeah, and Anthony Edwards is leading that charge. I saw him doing his victory lap around L.A. and he quoted "Boys in the Hood." Like he was like Ricky and Morris Chestnut. He ain't live in that movie. So it's just like you gotta. It's a competitive sport, but these people's jobs, and so they are performing at the highest level, just like everybody else. So I mean, I love the Lakers, but I'm also a fan of just good basketball. And these playoffs have been up and down. Like I am
Yeah.
truly rooting for the Detroit Pistons right
Yes.
now because they haven't sniffed a playoff since what? Chauncey Billups, that team, Rip
Right.
Hamilton, and all of
Right.
them. So just to see that group, that young group out there going to work, I'm just like this is, the face of basketball now, the younger bunch.
Well, and I think to me, because people have been complaining about the NBA is not, people don't want to watch and all this and that. And you do have to give people a product that people want to see.
Mhm.
And in years past, the big markets, they want to see LA, they want to see the Knicks, they want to see these teams in the playoffs. But when you get players like an Anthony Edwards, or
Mhm.
like Boston is so tough this year, but Cleveland,
Cleveland.
I mean, again, and
Sweeping. Get them brooms out.
okay, well, but they truly have a good team.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you look at OKC,
Yes.
them young
Young
boys don't
group.
know they young, Britt. I mean,
Like they play like they are literally in the park. Like this our
for
five.
sure.
What five you bringing?
That's it. That's it. And what they
Yeah.
say, what Dame say, they gonna bust your ass, right?
Dude really said that, and I just love it. Like it's good. It's been good basketball to watch. You got some trash talking. Shoot, Halliburton's daddy is no longer allowed at home or away games because of his trash talk.
Cause he was trash talking. I mean, he like 5'7". Like what you gonna do out there? So I mean, I don't know if he's played or not, and certainly I ain't gonna talk bad about nobody's daddy. But it's just but that's the spirit of the sport. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you've had games where you probably was talking a bit of trash. I
No, I let my
certainly
game speak for itself.
I was not a trash talker. I was one that, I was more hyped for my team.
Mm-hmm.
So if
Mm-hmm.
if my teammate scored or we got a steal, I'm like, yeah, that. But I was never to a person like you ain't
Right.
this or you ain't
Right.
that. Now people have done it to me, and I just laugh it off. I think it's
Mhm.
funny because
Go get a
once you
bucket.
start once you start jaw jacking at me, I've won. Cause
Yep.
you already you worried about me.
Yep.
You so whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just been some good games. I mean, I know a few. There have been some sweeps. Which they the one seed, so you kind of expect that. But
Well, yeah.
overall, I'm enjoying seeing the old heads like in Braun and shoot, Mike Conley's still out there. You got some old heads still hooping, but then these young guys, the Cade Cunninghams and Anthony Edwards, and so I think this is just good for the sport because you don't know who is going to take the title. Now,
Absolutely.
last year was it Boston or the Nuggets that won last year?
Boston won last year. The Nuggets won 2 years ago.
So they
But,
still playing right now.
that's the thing is like you got Jokic, you got Gilgis Alexander jockeying for, they've already picked. They just haven't
Waiting
announced
on
it, but
it.
it's
Hmm.
already done.
Who you think?
But Shay is, I feel he should, I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
and again, I certainly do believe that there could be voter fatigue. I think that
Hmm.
that's a real thing.
Hmm.
But you can't tell me that the same player is the best player every year. Like
I mean,
other players get better,
I'll make a case for Braun every year.
but he
But
didn't win it every
no,
year.
no, he
And
didn't.
then I read some where somebody said Kobe only won it 1 year out of
Did
his years.
he did,
So I
and
mean, and
that's
we know
bizarre.
Kobe was bringing it every night.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, you think about when Kobe was playing, who was in the league? Like Brown wasn't a thought when Kobe was playing, but I mean, you had the Steve Nashes, you had Shaq. I mean, you had all of these
Paul
players.
Pierce, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
is the direction of the NBA as a fan. I like it. I know they talk about the All Star game and figuring out what to do with that, and but I mean the young cats, they ain't nothing to play with.
Well, I think people don't like that the physicality has changed because it's more of a finesse game with
It
these
is.
threes.
Yeah.
And I wasn't shooting threes when I was in college, so that
Did
wasn't
y'all have a
something that
3-point
we
line?
yes, we had a 3-point line. So, but that wasn't my thing. Now, we didn't have the WNBA when I was coming out. That was new. But
Mm-hmm.
so I certainly wasn't trying to go play overseas or nothing. When I finished college, I was a mama. So I
Mm,
had to get it on right away, take care of my business, raise my baby. But I think the sport to me it had to evolve, because it changed from when Wilt Chamberlain was playing.
right.
So now you got the Steph Currys in the world coming out, him and Klay Thompson, shooting threes. It changed for Brooke Lopez. I mean,
Yes, it
everybody
did.
talk about Brooklyn Brook. Well, this Joker shooting threes like he, Steph Curry, right? So it's like there's nothing wrong with an evolution
Evolution.
if you
Yep.
want to stay relevant.
Yeah.
You hope people think that way about themselves. You know, you
Yep.
can't stay the same for whatever become because you become irrelevant.
Yep. Yeah. And speaking of irrelevant and relevant, you mentioned when you were coming out of college, the WNBA wasn't around. But just looking at the evolution of that league, like just the Asia Wilsons and the Stewies and the I mean it's Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark's, like the game has evolved in ways that back in early 90s you didn't think about that, to where it is now of just how the game has evolved. So
And I
what
think, yeah, and I think for me, as you're saying that, that was probably the biggest knock against women's sports because we couldn't dunk, you
Mhm.
know. But now it's kind of even because everybody's shooting threes, right?
Yep.
So now you want to see a Paige Becker or a Caitlin Clark. How far from half court can
Can
she
she
shoot that?
shoot?
So it's like the same things that they're complaining about in the men's league is why the women's league has taken off, because it's truly is about putting that ball in the hoop. It
That's
really
it.
is.
That's it.
And when you look at skilled players like Caitlin Clark, Asia Wilson, and now Paige about to come on board,
Mhm.
it just makes for so much more fodder. Like we can have stuff to talk about, and there's so much more parity. There
Yeah.
aren't champion like when the league came out, Cynthia Cooper's Houston Comets, they won like every year, because she was on the team. But
Yep.
you don't know who gonna win now.
Yeah.
And shout out to New York Liberty because they literally had a bomb dream team, but they didn't win that year.
Yep.
And they brought the funk this year. And I'm sure Nafisa Collier is not happy that I said that because she balled
Yeah.
last season.
Yeah.
But but again, look at what she did. She decided to start a 3v3 league so women can play here instead of
Yep.
having to go overseas because she's a mama.
Yep.
She don't want to be displaced from her family and whatever. So no, I haven't watched as many reels and TikToks and whatever from all these ladies in my life. Like I get so caught up in what they're saying and doing. And like our podcast is called because girls is players too. Because they are bringing it. They are
Bringing it.
bringing it.
Yeah, you mentioned something that I want to talk a little bit more about is being an athlete, and then shifting your life to being a parent and then raising a kid in sports. So like talk a little bit about that because it is a shift, once you go from playing to coaching to raising up a athlete. So just talk about that shift or just what comes to mind with that.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me was my dad, your grandfather. He was very militant when it came to me training because I said, "Hey, I want to play basketball. I want to go to college to play basketball." And he was like, "Okay, well, you're going to do it this way." And at that time, I didn't appreciate what he did,
Mhm.
taking
Mhm.
me to the Y and playing with the guys, to give me that exposure and just to learn how to play against men, it made me so much tougher. And
Mhm.
so when I became a mom and you started on the path of sports, I didn't want you to just play basketball because that's what I did or that's what your dad did. It was find a sport that she can excel in on her own and see how
Mhm.
she feels. And you were amazing in soccer, like you were, but it gave me an opportunity to see it through the lens of Papa,
Yeah.
what it takes to be at that level. And so, now for you, AAU was around and the camps and everything. So you certainly had a lot of opportunity to shine and get your glory. But as a parent who was a former athlete, it's not living through you, it's trying to
Mhm.
help you achieve your goal on your own terms and so that you can be the best version of yourself.
Right.
And I think some parents, they miss that because maybe they didn't achieve certain things when they played. So they hard on their kids,
Yep.
because I need him to do blah. Or you have parents who, some lot of these young black men, their dads weren't around. So
Right.
mamas, they trying to raise these men to be something, but they don't have the resources to do a lot of those things. And so, I'm just always excited, when you get a parent who's just a champion for their kid, but they have discipline and
Right.
they've instilled values and a
Yep.
foundation. And hopefully you feel that that was what you got, from your parents.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a big advocate for team everything. Because you remember that freshman year in high school, and I tried track, and it
Yeah, that was a bust.
it didn't work because that's two individuals. So I
Yeah.
thrived under that team aspect, and I've seen great success in my years of sports. And every team has ups and downs and injuries and all of that. So I've endured all of that, personal injuries, teammate injuries, and you just find a way to come back. And like, there's just no better feeling than seeing your teammates get a bucket, or the teammates that may not play as much, they get in the game and they score, and we cheering them on like they started the game. And so it's just, that's what I live for. That team camaraderie, and just like, we dogs, like we when we on this court, it's us against y'all.
Correct.
And
Correct.
but we also were, like, I was around good teammates that showed great sportsmanship. Like, we dogs, and it's us against y'all, but after the game we high five, and hey, how's your family? So it wasn't a enemy type of thing, but it's just, when we on this court, I don't know you, and I'm gonna get a bucket too. So, yeah, I definitely, you and my dad definitely instilled, because my dad was that gritty, like, I'm gonna get assists, and we gonna do this move, and blah blah blah, and then you were, defense, and Papa and Auntie Chrissy were shooters. So I mean, I had every level of the game to really help me succeed.
And shout out to a for real Hall of Famer, Auntie Chrissy, Dr. Kristen Muscala, your godmama. She is in the Hall of Fame at Marquette.
Yes, at
That
Marquette.
girl could ball.
Yes. So I was surrounded by, like, true athletes to their sport. And for me to see the success, being able to play in college, and then having the honor of being inducted in my high school Hall of Fame, it just shows that work definitely paid off. And through the people that I was surrounded by.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it again, you want proud parent moments, and you certainly gave us a lot, and like you said, unfortunate things happen, the injuries, took a significant toll on you.
Yeah.
I was fortunate, didn't have any injuries in my playing years, and you sustained quite a bit, and it could change you.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so, like, you started our discussion today that you're retired, and it's like, you ain't but 5 years old. What you mean you're retired?
Retired.
But you got out of the experience what you could. And
Yep.
so now that you're a mom, and you're trying to expose your daughter to different things, she'll find her way, she'll find her niche, but you got to get them involved in different things to see what they gravitate towards.
Yep.
Because,
Yep.
like I said, if we push it on them, if we force it on them, they not going. It's not. They probably won't thrive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I'm a switch gears a little bit, because we got the NBA going, we got WNBA, all of that, but the NFL draft just happened, and
we talking
you
about
know
parents involved.
Speaking of parent involvement, Shador Sanders has been in the media so much just for, his draft pick and all of that. But keeping to parent involvement, speak to just your reaction or your feeling of how Deion Sanders has handled all of this, because Shador's brother Shiloh was also drafted. So good
Shiloh
things are
went
happening.
undrafted, so we gotta
Oh, he did. He
clarify.
did
He
go.
he
He
was
did go undrafted.
undrafted, but he
That's
did
right.
end up getting signed.
That's
So
right. That's
that's
right.
different.
Thank you
But
for that clarity.
yeah, but I think Dion played a hand that he wasn't he wasn't sure. I think he played a hand that he thought could win.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was you find out that life still dictates how things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very accomplished Hall of Famer who was amazing at his craft. And I think he felt that because of who he was, he could say and do certain things that would influence how things would play out for his son.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly don't want to infer or say that he shouldn't have done some things, because in life, until you do it, you don't know what the outcome is going to be. But I think he has to he has to remember that in our society, certain things just don't always
The
work
right way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
as black people
Yeah.
or as black men.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say people are racist. That's certainly not what we're saying. It's just that's just the way some things go.
Yeah.
Now, should he have been involved? Absolutely. But now that Shador has been drafted, Shador owes it to his family to show everybody that he is worthy of all of the fanfare that came before he
Right.
slid to fifth and whatever. Just do it. Just go
Yeah.
do it. You don't have to keep, icing everything, throwing money at everything. Everybody know you got money. You came from money, and all you were raised in a situation of privilege. But prove it. Show
Yeah.
show everybody that you earn it. And then your dad doesn't have to talk so much
For
about you.
you.
He don't
Yep.
have to put
Mm-hmm.
you up anymore
Yep.
because you're doing it.
Yep.
Shiloh the same. Just
Yeah.
go do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that point because, social media and media in general, they've taken sides of, he's this and he's done that and it's a shame that he didn't get picked this and you know to see his draft ranking drop, and it's like they're trying to humble him. So I mean, you've seen so much in the media, and I just think the point that you made, like, okay, we've gotten over that. He's picked now. So now it's his time to show exactly who he is, what he's made of. What can people say? I mean, in media, people are always going to have something to say,
Correct.
but they can't say that, well, he's a bust or we see why he went in the fifth round,
Right. Right.
Um, so yeah, I just think it's the point that you brought up is a good one of just, all right, it is what it is. Like, this is where we are.
Yeah.
So, but now what happens next?
Correct. Because it's not like they're gonna go back to Green Bay and redo it
No,
and just start over. So
no.
you were picked fifth. Why? Who knows? Who cares at this point? But last week after the draft, his jersey, well, Monday, his jersey was the number 3 highest selling jersey after the
Yep.
draft, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Today, it's number 1. Now, he has not played in one game, Brittany, and he hasn't even been assigned a number. So you got people buying 00, and his number might be 2 or
Right.
5 or 8 or
Right.
whatever. So it's like they don't care.
Mm-mm.
So that lets me you know, that lets me know he's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
But everybody is buying into the hope. So let's stop hoping, Shadur. Get out there and
And just
show these
do it.
people why they were wrong to have you the way at the weight that you had.
Mm-hmm.
Show them, prove it. And everybody says, "Oh well, the franchise is not very strong or whatever." Well, you can change that narrative too. If they
Absolutely.
winning, then
Right.
what can they say?
So I just want to, because we are, I think the people picked up on the fact that we are Wisconsin natives. So the draft was in Green Bay.
The draft was in Green Bay, and it's funny because where we're from, which is Milwaukee, it's a nice little 2-hour drive to get to
Mm-hmm.
Green Bay,
Mm-hmm.
but that's who we cheer for, right? The
Right.
Packers. That's our team.
Yeah.
And so to see that whole spectacle, I mean, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. But I'm gonna tell you, watching I am so sorry. I took a pause because this game is Detroit is winning by
Oh.
2 points.
Oh.
Exactly. And they were getting crushed. And it's like, wait a minute. They they they're up too. Right.
Detroit.
But it was just so amazing to see a small market because that's the rap that we get. Even Milwaukee,
Yep.
people dog us because we're a small market, but we're a big market sports team
Yeah.
with the Bucks, with the Brewers. Green Bay technically is in that confines of the state. Marquette basketball, UW, Wisconsin
Wisconsin.
basketball, football, sports, all sports. We have UWM, Green Bay. I mean, we just have so much sports happening in our area,
Yep.
and that to me is why I bleed blue and gold. I'm a diehard Marquette fan, but if Wisconsin is playing and they not playing Marquette, I'm cheering for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's home. That's home. But it was amazing to see that the glitz and the glamour. Oh, that's what I was gonna say, real quick. They brought out on the draft table that the commentators, Nick Saban was there, Desmond Howard, um Kirk Herbstreit. They were talking, and they brought out a platter of all things Wisconsin: cheese
Mm.
curds,
Mm.
wings, and they brought out bratwurst. And I literally watched Kirk Herbstreit eat a bratwurst. And at that moment, the next day, I went and bought some brats from the store. So you
Because you
talk
can't
about
go
you
wrong.
talk about instant. What do they call product placement? Like
Yes.
I was sold.
Yes. Because you can't go wrong. You can't, like, I know beer and cheese. I mean, we are the dairy state, so that cheese, those cheese curds, people go crazy for cheese curds. But a good brat with some onions and
Yeah.
ketchup, oh
Oh my
Lord,
God.
yeah,
I remember when Giannis, he was in a suite for something and he had never tried a brat, and he was like, "What is this bratwurst?" And he tore that mug up and ate like seven after, like in a row. I mean, it was crazy. But there's so much love that comes from the state, and I love, like I said, I love the fact that we're a sports town. I
mm-hmm,
love the fact that we have so much to cheer for. And but look at you. I mean, you went to state for basketball and y'all won. Like, I mean, how did that feel,
yeah. I'm
repping the
like
whole state?
I'm like Anthony Edwards. I did a victory lap around Madison. I definitely did, running around with my state champ, saying "State champ, state champ." That whole experience was something, because I'm sure most of y'all are familiar with the process. You go to the playoffs and you have regionals, sectionals. We had a interesting, when I talked about the weather in Wisconsin, there were snow blizzards and what have you that were happening during the tournament time. So where you would play a game and you would have a few days off and you play another game. we actually played 3 games, back to back to back. And our that third game we called it a Super Tuesday because we did what we needed to do. We handled the business the other 2 games, but because of weather, our game was rescheduled, and so we played 3 games in a row to get to state. Now, any team, I mean, we've already played 25 games in a season. Fatigue sets in. Our team was very interesting where we we had highs and lows with each other. So you're dealing with that. And at the point where we won that Super Tuesday, it's like, well, we at state now, so we may as well just win the whole thing. We got through that first game.
I was about to say, but were the teams when you got to state? Because again, you're playing against teams from up north somewhere. You don't
Never
really
seen them.
right. You watch film, but to be on the court with them, were they good? Like, was the competition good?
I'm not one to knock any team or whatever, but our first game, we pretty much ran through that team. Like, just ran through. I mean, we had our starting 5, 2 of them went D1, and 3 of us went D2. So I mean, we had weapons. Ran through that first team. We got to the championship game, the last game, and it that was a test. That was a test. I mean, because they had pretty much the same thing that we were offering. They had players going D1 and what have you. So we saw ourselves in a dogfight. And foul troubles happened, and second half came, and it was like, okay, y'all done playing now? And what was crazy, and I got chills now, I remember hearing in the stands our fans, oh, 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 oh. I mean, they were getting us hyped, and it was like a light switch. It was like, all right, these girls, they ready to play now.
Yeah,
And that's an experience. That's top 5 memories
yeah,
for me. Top
yeah.
5. Because again, just like NBA, everybody's trying to win a championship. Everybody in the state is trying to win a championship. And
Right.
so to bring that gold ball home, I have something that a lot of girls really can't speak to.
But do
Um
you think that it's better if you go through something to win? Because the
Absolutely.
year before, we were the number one ranked team. You went
Absolutely.
down with an injury, and we didn't make it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that injury, I mean, we were like planning to win state that year. Like, oh yeah, we gonna get through this, and so you go through that to have to do a full year again, and then you come back and all types of things happen. And so again, that's just an experience that nobody can take that from me, from my teammates, because I'm a state champ and I'm
Right.
gonna forever be that.
That's it. They can't take it away.
Mm-mm.
Can't take it away. Well, this is our first podcast. There's
First
so
of
we
many.
have a lot in store, lots of stories to talk about. But I think what makes it so cool is that we're a mother-daughter duo that have experienced similar paths within our sports journey,
Yeah.
but we can literally sit and talk about sports with anybody. So
Anybody.
I just want to say before we sign out, I'm so proud of you. I ain't never had to do a Tyrese Halliburton daddy to run on the court for nobody. So you always made sure to take care of stuff, but that's probably because you were taught humility and be
Yeah.
gracious in defeat and victory.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, this is one of many. I'm super excited to be on this journey with you, and let's see how it looks on the other side.
All right. We signing off here from the west, or not the West Coast, the
Well, I'm
Midwest.
from the West Coast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But here in the Midwest, we're gonna sign off because It is nighttime. You still
Yes.
got some daylight there.
I'm the mom
I'm the daughter.
because girls is players too. Peace out.
Bye.